Good opening words there, Mr. Reimer. Well, isn't this a nice turnout? I'd like to thank you all for taking the time out of your lives to come down and listen to the program that we have put together tonight. And we hope that our message will resonate with all of you and perhaps be an encouragement to join us in our efforts. My name is Mike Deming. My wife Julie and I moved here in late 2021. A beautiful city, and we're very happy that we made the move. We moved from an area up north where freedom and liberty is not valued as highly as it is here, we hope. I'm happy to report that while we knew about the warmer weather and the lower taxes and the Second Amendment, we were most pleased to confirm is that Southern hospitality and kindness is a very real thing. It really is. People have gone out of their way to be helpful. And on a side note, personally, I have only heard "Why, bless your heart" on several very, very isolated occasions. As you know, the city of Chattanooga is about to become an active player in the Smart City 15-minute city program. Rick has a presentation with more specifics, but I'd just like to establish a little background here. You know, a good reporter gathers the facts, right? The who, the what, the when, the where, the why. And I'm going to take those elements a little bit out of order here, so bear with me. What? Up north, I was involved in the freedom liberty movement, and I must admit I was hoping to largely leave that behind when I came down here, but I became aware that the powers that be are intent on transforming, and I use the word, I'm going to use it again, transforming Chattanooga through the implementation of their climate action plan into a smart city. What plan is that, you said? Well, I'm glad you asked. You should go to SaveChattanooga.com, which is a website that is maintained by our excellent webmaster, webmistress, I'm not sure what we can call Madeline. She does a beautiful job, and she works tirelessly at posting valuable links, ways to interact with each other, and to just keep abreast of what is going on here in Chattanooga. So why call it Save Chattanooga? Doesn't that sound a little dramatic? Well, you know, we often hear from our leaders about the Great Reset, right? Build back better. It's tough, isn't it? It's just, we often hear the news that, you know, somebody coming out of work. Yeah, we're going to build back better. Catchy phrase, but if we break down the phrase itself, build back better, the implication is that what was is no longer, right? And the term better, well, according to who? According to who? Speaking of who, I would like to report that it's the Hamilton County Democrats and Republicans that have promoted these ideas, and that the next election we can just vote the scoundrels out, but I don't think it's going to be that easy. The players behind this agenda are the usual suspects: big government, big business, big banking, and today I think we can add big media, big pharma, big academia. Historically, in order to implement these plans or anything that they want to get done, they had to work within an established system and spread outward. Well, with the advent of the electronic age, the Internet of Things, mass communication, control can be brought to bear from the outside in now, right? And they seem to have Chattanooga right in their crosshairs. We also need to begin to see the term big government differently. You know, like big government can mean looking at global leaders, the World Economic Forum. Big government can mean Washington. Big government can mean Nashville. Right? Big government can mean the county courthouse here. It can also mean Hickson, the mayor of Hickson. But we need to see that it's all big government, and that the effect that we can make is probably not reaching the global leaders in Geneva or Brussels, but right here locally. Right? So I think that that's a good understanding when we say big government. You know, it's intimidating, isn't it? Like we can't get anything done. You know, there's only two types of people in the world, really. You know, we have the live and let live, like us, right? Those who want to be left alone, live their lives under the Constitution, raise our families, have a good life. And then you've got the other people who, they want to control everything. You know the other type. They want to tell you what you can and what you cannot do. Unfortunately, these types have a tendency to gravitate towards government, right? Where they can not only exercise their power, telling you what to do, but get paid a pretty hefty paycheck by doing it. I once heard Congressman Ron Paul say that government only does two things. They prohibit something or they subsidize it, right? That's about all they really do. They stop you from doing something or they promote something. You know, Donald Trump also caught a lot of flack for being a billionaire and running for office. You know, everybody was all concerned about that, but I'm much more concerned about the average people who get elected to office and 10 years later they've got $20 million in the bank account. Like, why do we ask them this question? Now, this area of Tennessee has a strong connection to the war of northern aggression. And that's the first time I've been able to use that saying and not have it done. You say it up north, it doesn't fly. One of the outcomes of that conflict, and I'm probably preaching to the choir here, is the Reconstruction period. The Build Back Better of its day. The boots on the ground for implementing Reconstruction were carpetbaggers, those somewhat unsavory characters who came down and took advantage of people who were just down, beat. I would suggest that we're living in another Reconstruction period, and the carpetbaggers are pretty obvious, really, if you look and see. I'd like to report that, also when is this taking place, I'd like to report that our elected representatives just recently thought of this, but the initial elements of this agenda were put in place here locally decades ago. These plans, by the way, were never brought up in a referendum. They were never voted on by the people. The press has been uninterested in presenting this ongoing story, and sadly, most citizens, I believe, remain largely ignorant of the coming loss of freedom that this plan, if completed, will bring. By the way, the Smart City project has actively been implemented and is ongoing in test cities around the world. It's already happening. Oxford, England is a good city that comes to mind. And if you go to SaveChattanooga.com, SaveChattanooga.com, Evelyn has some links to some citizen journalists who are posting videos of what is going on in these cities, and the people are not happy. And I'm thankful for that the natives are restless. So where is this happening? Well, while it's an international effort, long in place, it is about to be presented to the world as a shiny new toy, right? Chattanooga, along with San Jose, are about to be the focus of these, and there really is no other word for it, tyrannical efforts. How the citizens of Chattanooga respond will have an impact on the preservation of freedom and liberty, not just here, but for all people. We are a small, quiet city, but whether we like it or not, the whole world is watching, and they will be watching. All right, so as to why they are doing this, money, power, control. So with that, let's hear from Mr. Rick Walzer, who's going to give us some specifics.
If you can't hear me, let me know. I'll try to speak up. Let me start by saying I'm just a regular guy. I'm not an expert. I read the CAP plan, and this is the way I'm interpreting it after studying this for a while. I feel that I'm not the greatest speaker, but I feel somebody's got to speak up and say this. So what is always Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Loud.
So
Be loud.
what has always bothered me is that we never voted for this. This is like when the churches closed and they kept us from going. Well, this is something where five people on the city council voted yes, and we never got to vote for the climate action plan. The climate action plan is a very important piece of the, next screen please. The climate action plan is a very important piece of the overall strategy to make Chattanooga a smart city and then a 15-minute city. Chattanooga has established a sophisticated surveillance system. The CAP will add to the surveillance the monitoring of the remaining areas of your life. The government will take away your freedom of movement and your privacy as a result. Surveillance is becoming even more intrusive by increasing the use of cameras, LiDAR, tag readers, and even facial recognition. Your home and property will be monitored. Taxes will be raised to fund these changes. At first there are incentives and then punishment. If you don't cooperate, then you are fined or incur fees. New rules written into city codes will result in codified fees and more rules to follow. The government will inventory your land and legally remove your rights as a property owner through new conservation programs. There are many ways surveillance is currently in place, ranging from cameras on a pole, cameras at intersections, cameras on the street lights, LiDAR installed in the road, and auto tag readers. These may not be specifically in the plan, but are required to make it work. The CAP utilizes all of these as part of the intrusive surveillance. Waste stream audits are a way to track your trash and make sure you are meeting your targets and fined if needed. Your trash will possibly be videoed and weighed to monitor and report your trash habits. In-home monitoring is done through smart meters already on your electricity. And inventories will be taken on all streams, vegetation, forest, and birds. They will then be able to monitor and report everything in and outside of your house. So let's look at the current state of surveillance in Chattanooga. At the state level, we have on the broad picture, we have the Tennessee Department of Transportation. They have what's called the SmartWay traffic cameras. You can go to their website. They cover all of the freeways in Chattanooga. You can access the cameras online. Those already exist. The Hamilton County Sheriff has the automated license plate reader, which monitors the area around officers' vehicles. And then what they're really looking for is certain people who are on their list. And then you get to the Chattanooga police, they're all wearing body cameras. So all your interactions with them are being recorded. And then the police have also a real-time intelligence center. They have 48 cameras and they're placed in neighborhoods. So if they want to monitor your neighborhood, they can park it on a pole, they can put it on a vehicle, or mount it on a trailer. And then there's car tag readers, and those track your whereabouts as you travel around the city. More surveillance. So the city street lights are now LED. I don't know if you've noticed the new ones, they're flat and they've got a little box on top. They have the cameras mounted on top of each light. Yet another way they can follow you as you move about the city. So this is an example of the new LED street light with camera on top. With the trees behind it, maybe a little hard to see, but there's the LED light and there is the camera. They become an interconnected network of smart streetlights used for monitoring traffic and weather, providing real-time video, audio, and Wi-Fi, broadcasting city announcements or advertising, and even directing event parking or illuminating evacuation routes in an emergency. Does that sound like Big Brother to you? All coming from that. Next. So we are not paying for all of the changes in our city. Outside forces are committing funds to make these changes. Chattanooga Resolution 31363 accepted a nearly $5 million grant from the U.S. Department of Transportation to install an, quote, end-to-end decision support system for integrated smart electric grid and transportation system management. Does that sound like a smart city? End-to-end decision support system for integrated smart electric grid and transportation system management. Wow. So eventually, this system will cover 130 intersections by utilizing LiDAR, sensors, 3D perception software, and AI. The city has already accepted this, and they're putting that in place right now. Just my guess, this project area will become the first car-free or no or low emission zone. The next step will be supporting autonomous vehicles per CAP strategy 2.13.19, page 25. And let me mention, the CAP strategy CAP plan is out there on the website. It's 62 pages, and they've got everything broken down very handily. They'll have a strategy, and you can look everything up exactly like here. Biodiversity, 5.53, establish Chattanooga as a zero extinction zone. So this is very specific, and I'm referring to the pages and the number in here. So it's a fact. What I'm reading is right in here. It's how I'm interpreting. You may look at it differently, but to me, this is what it's telling me, and I'm hoping you agree. If not, then let me know, and I have to look at things again. Circular connectors are the important step toward a 15-minute city. Creating a circular connector is CAP strategy 2.13.5. Zones are created and restrictions implemented and adjusted to increase control. So, I'm not an artist, but I needed a diagram. So, this is a common practice of other smart cities. As Mike mentioned, Oxford, they have a lady on one of the videos, and she's drawing a diagram. They divide the city into 6 pieces. So you have zones 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now in my example, and then the circular connector, that's the yellow circle that goes around. Now that's in the CAP plan already. I mentioned that. That's CAP strategy 2.13.5. They're going to implement, what they want to do is implement a circular connector. So if I live here in zone 1 and I work in zone 4, I have to drive out to the circular connector, drive all the way around, and then go into work. So what used to be 15 minutes to drive from here to here now may take 45 minutes. So one, it's a tax on my time. You know, because of saying you can't drive from here to here, now I have to spend the extra effort and the gas and just be able to go from here to here, from zone 1 to zone 4. Now, and in addition, I believe in Oxford, they're limited to 100 times a year that they can get out of their zone. So if you're in zone 1 and you want to go to zone 6, after that 100th visit, now you're going to be charged a fee, and then they just ding your bank account. So now, say you want to avoid the driving, and just walk from zone 1 to zone 4. Well, you have to walk through an e-gate. Now, they may have a different name, but it's a type of automated border control system that uses automated self-service barriers. Now, once you've been verified, then the gate opens and you're allowed to pass. Walking from zone to zone would still be included in your 100 trips. So you get around here to 99, you only got one left, no matter how you go, whether you walk or you drive. Next. Now, this is a workflow of the automatic border control system, an e-gate. So there are 3 ways to get through the gate. You can use your passport, that's one way, or you can use a contactless chip like an OCR, or you can use your biometric, which is facial recognition. And then they're confirming it's valid, they check you against blacklist. So this is a way that they're already doing this in China. You can see videos, I believe on the website, it has it right now, where they're having to take the glasses off because they're using their face on facial recognition. So this is not that last slide is not in the cap, but this is how it comes together in the future with, as part of a 15-minute city. So, next. Now, moving on to intrusive surveillance. Another way you may not think of when surveillance is discussed is your waste, your trash. First, the municipal city will become a zero waste community by 2040. The residents will achieve zero waste community by 2050. So they're giving us an extra 10 years. Note they include all types of trash per cap strategy. 3.9, 3.10, 3.11, 3.12. So they're going through all the different material usage, organic, solid, charge for waste produced, and they want to increase recycling. It's always good. Now, to accomplish this, they will audit your trash and incentivize reduction. Incentivize ultimately becomes punishment with fines. If you don't do it, then you have to pay a fine. And did you have your vote? Did you vote to have your trash monitored? I did. But this is in the cap. This is what they're going to do. They voted in already. All these are part of the cap, the strategies. It tells you right there. So for an example, California, they've already passed SB 1383 to achieve a 75% reduction in organic waste by 2025. I spoke with the company, WM Waste Management, and they use cameras. They have cameras all over their truck. They're used to record the contents of your trash, and if you place the wrong item in the wrong container, a $10 contamination charge dinged onto your account. So they give you 3 containers, and you better get it in the right one, or you're having to pay a fee. Some cities, I talked to my trash guy, and he said some cities are weighing the trash. He said they don't have that yet, but he's heard of other cities, and they're actually weighing the trash. So, next. So, per the cap, the city will achieve a net zero carbon municipal footprint by 2040 and community footprint by 2050. That's on page 24. EPB has smart meters on your houses, which allows them to monitor the amount of electricity usage and specific type of usage. They run some type of a check like every 30 seconds. So is it your refrigerator or your computer or your washing machine? They can tell by the amount of the energy that's used. EPB can now generate a report for specific commercial buildings showing energy uses of many types. I have an example coming up. A greenhouse gas inventory will be conducted every 2 years per cap strategies 2.1.1 and 2.10.1. Next. So this is, this is a page from the U.S. Department of Energy Better Buildings Report titled Data of the Future, Digital Cities, July 11, 2019. This is a report for building 60246. There's the green building. There's the number 60246. And it identifies, here's all the data about it. It says that here's the number, it's a small office building, and it's got 3 floors. And right here, CO2 emissions, 222,000 pounds per year. So they can track your CO2 already. They can do it on the city buildings. What are they going to do to us? You go down below, they're showing HVAC efficiency, gas HVAC, gas water heater, heat pump water heater, insulation, infiltration, and lighting. So, so the first step is we set all this up for the city-owned buildings. And then when the tools are in place, they simply shift it from the city to us. And now, instead of this being an office building, it's your house. And they would then be able to do the same thing to us. Remember, the residents will achieve a zero waste community by 2050. This is how they can do it. They can monitor it all. Next. So, a greenhouse gas inventory will rigorously define the sources of carbon in Chattanooga from electricity and gas utility use, transportation and fleet-related emissions, landfill decomposition, wastewater treatment, and other sources. The city goal was city buildings by 2040 and residential homes by 2050, as we discussed. CAP strategy 2.12.2, page 23, join the Better Climate Challenge, which is part of the U.S. Department of Energy. Well, Chattanooga has already joined, and they've committed to a 50% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2033. So they're not patient enough to achieve things by 2040 and then 2050. Now they're speeding up to 2033, 50% reduction. Next. So taxes do not always appear as taxes. You have new fines, higher fees, and rules requiring your time or all taxes in one way or another. Your property taxes and stormwater fees are targeted to increase. Per cap strategy 5.18 on page 44 states explore adjustment of property tax rates in sewer/stormwater fees. More new fees. Strategy 2.12, all new buildings to be net zero/negative. Another one, strategy 2.12.3, update Soul Smart certification with zoning and city code revisions. Again, more fees and rules. Waste reduction targets can result in contamination fees for putting the trash in the wrong container. That's the only one that I'm aware of yet. And then the zero emission zone fees incurred for driving in the wrong areas. I'll talk more about that. More rules include where and when to drive, where and what to plant, and how to handle your trash. So this just happened the other day. I don't know if everybody heard about this. The utility rate increase is another action plan tax. An example is the TVA raising our rates 4.5% to fund a, quote, a net zero carbon future. So they've already started. They need $15 billion to do this. Did you vote to change the direction of our city? Did you vote for this $15 billion? It came down to 5 city council people voting yes. That's what it took to do this. Next. This is a map of Oxford, England's zero emission zone. So note there's a small pilot area. Right here, this little tiny square is the zero, is the pilot area that they're going to start with. Then later, it will be the larger, the green area. It will become much larger. All gas and diesel vehicles will be charged a daily rate if they drive in the zero emission zone between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. The majority of vehicles will have to pay 10 pounds a day, and the fee doubles to 20 pounds a day in August 2025. That's already in place. Zero emission vehicles will not pay the charge. This is discrimination against those unable or unwilling to purchase an electric vehicle. This fine is your undeclared tax. Per strategy 5.13.7, incentivize non-motorized vehicle trips. So we've got that already baked into the cap. This is what they're going to do. On page 25, strategy 2.13.15, car-free zones. And on page 26, strategy 2.13.23, establish low or no emission zones. If we do not stop implementing the cap, Oxford will be our future. The government will conduct audits of everything on your property, then legally monitor and report your findings. They will then know all of the physical traits of your property. Do you have a stream, a pond, or a forested tract of trees, or maybe a species of bird on your property? Through easements, inventories, and audits, the government can then monitor your land and establish requirements of ownership.
Hey, Rick, can we stop you for questions, or do you want questions?
We'll have them at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, Q&A. So this is my last drawing. So let me walk you through the slide. Yeah, last one. Yeah. Here is, you own a house on a couple of acres. I know everybody has a couple of acres or anything, but I'm trying to put everything into one slide. So you own a house on a couple acres, and you have a stream, and you have a pond. Now, per the Climate Action Plan, strategies 5.9 and 5.11 on page 43, stream and conservation easements will be established. An easement typically forbids or substantially constrains subdivision and other real estate development. Easements are established on each side of the stream. So there's green on the edge of the blue, there's blue stream, and in the green, those are the easements. And then you'll see an easement around the pond as well. In Virginia, they have the Piedmont Environmental Council's 9-county region is implementing 35-foot buffer easements. So you lose 70 feet of your property now that you're able to do something with. A forest inventory from the CAP strategy 5.32 on page 45 revealed you have protected trees. These are now protected in your land to be acquired to protect the trees. It states that for possible acquisition. Other audits of plants and birds revealed some of them are now protected, resulting in the government dictating your actions to build or do whatever you want to your property. Again, protection is established, limiting what you can do. This is how the government is able to remove your property rights and take over your land. The CAP strategy 5.53, page 46, establishes Chattanooga as a zero extinction zone, which is an area placed in conservation reserves. On page 46, strategy 5.54, a map of protected and non-protected flora and fauna species will be prepared. Priority species continue to be identified and then must be protected by restricting areas for use. One source states 1 million species are threatened with extinction. Where can you go that you will not be in a zero extinction zone? Biden signed an executive order his first day in office to participate in the 30 by 30 plan. 30% of both land and sea areas will be in conservation reserve.